Hello and welcome. Sit tight. Catch Dog Concepts will be live very soon. Thank you for tuning in. What's up? What's up? What's up? Got a double header this week for y'all on Catch Dog Concepts. We got my guy Ty Carroll at Tiger K9 coming on for an interview. What's up?
What's up, man? What's up,
How
man?
you
What's
doing?
up, man? All right, all right.
Man, more work, man. You know I'm grinding right now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So Stu, just give like a little brief introduction to yourself and who you are, what you do.
Uh, my name Ty Carroll. I guess I'm a dog trainer. I ain't gonna say I guess. I'm a dog trainer. Uh, I train from pets to police dogs to service dogs, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So shoot, let me get those. We going in. We going in here first. So talk about your first experience with dogs.
Uh, it's more like how I got into dogs.
Yeah, say if you was like 4 years old and your parents had dogs, or what made you really want to get into dogs?
Uh, to be real, when I was younger, I grew up around game dogs.
Okay.
The it's shunned upon, but fighting dogs.
Okay.
That's what I kind of grew around and like hog hunting. Uh, and I just kind of just built up a passion, with dogs, and how especially in our culture, you get a little pit bull puppy, for Christmas or something like that, and it just started from there. I get a dog, uh, fall in love with it, raise it, and then something might have happened to the dog. Dog got out. I was a kid at that age, so I didn't really cherish you know uh, and maintenance of a relationship with a dog.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, careless. That's the
Yeah, I
word,
get what you're saying.
careless. But me being careless, I kind of was able to have a couple dogs in my childhood. From 3 to 4 dogs I was able to have, and I just slowly started to get in, maybe breeding. You just call it the backyard thing. You know,
Yeah,
like once again, like I'm saying, careless, not knowing much about what I'm really doing. It was just
you were just doing that at the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. Yeah.
Uh,
For sure.
and then that kind of drove a passion in me. When you be in school and they'd ask you, high school, and they'd ask what you want to do, in college, or what you want to be when you grow up. You know,
Yeah.
I played football. I wasn't the greatest, and I also wasn't the biggest. So you know, in middle school, you all say, "I want to be a football star." But of course, you get older in high school. Reality. You
That
know,
become more unrealistic. Yeah,
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 most
yeah, yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
So if you're smart enough, if you're not just trying to chase dreams, knowing that that's not meant for you or whatever,
yeah,
whatever the case is. So I started to say, "Oh man, I like animals. I like dogs. You know why?
What up, Sean?
why? Why do why don't I be a vet? You know?"
Yeah,
And so that's what I kind of started building my career path to. Uh, so in high school, I take extra credits of biology and science and things, just because I wanted to be familiar with the way of life. Not even
Yeah.
just animals, but just life. Uh, I don't know, in Michigan where you're from, but in Louisiana, as a senior, you have like a big project to graduate. They call it like a
Hmm.
senior project.
Yeah, yeah, I had one too. It was for my
Okay.
journalism class. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So being, that's the senior project, we get to choose, what we want to do it on. And this was kind of my first intro into like dog training. I said I wanted to teach a dog to do search and rescue, which is called like
Okay.
SAR, search and rescue.
Yeah,
If you don't know, which is just like meaning, a kid gets lost, they get the dog to come find the person.
yeah,
Or, say they got somebody lost in some rubble, in a building that crashed down.
yeah. Like kind of in the subject of apprehension, kind of. I mean, yeah.
I mean, not necessarily apprehension because
Right. I
these
mean, but that's kind of you going to find a man or a person. Yeah.
right, right, right. But we're not biting. We're not trying to bite.
No, no. Yeah,
Apprehension
I
would be,
understand that. Yeah.
to bite. So no, no. I don't want to put that picture in there because that would be bad. There, going to go
Yeah.
find a
No.
little
Yeah. I know.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
For
Uh,
sure.
but that's what I did. I went. I didn't have a dog at the time to start that project, so I went to the pound, not knowing anything. What type of dog that I needed or whatever. I just went and got a blue heeler mix, I believe the dog was.
Okay.
And I reached out in my area, and there was actually a big team in Shreveport, Louisiana. I forget the name of them, but it was big in my area, and I reached out to them to see if they were able, to mentor me. What is what it's called, and they agreed, and so I took this dog, this what you want to call it, this shelter dog, this backyard bred red heeler, blue heeler mix, and taught it to find people.
Yeah.
And I just kind of grew a interest in that. Not a lot, I didn't graduate high school and say, oh, now I'm going to be a dog trainer. I still,
Right.
had dreams of being a vet, but I'm just putting that out there. It's like that's in the back of my mind. So, still in this senior year, I was a smart kid. So, like I said earlier, I had to take extra credits and stuff. Well, another one of my biology type classes, I had another senior project. So I had two senior projects in one. So what I do again? I had success with my, SAR training. So I said, now I'm just gonna do some simple obedience.
Okay.
Uh, I got one of my friend's dogs. It was a boxer. His name's Corey. Shout out to Corey. Um, he let me keep his dog for about 3 to 4 months, 3 months, and I basically taught this dog basic obedience.
Cool.
And that
Cool.
was, like my other little foot in the door with training. Uh, Still at this time, I'm not finna graduate and be a dog trainer. That's not on my mind. Uh,
Oh, okay.
that's not on my
Oh, it took
mind at
it took a
all.
minute for you to get into it.
Yeah, so I graduate. I go to college for about 2 years study pre-vet. Long story short, I find out it's not for me. College just wasn't for me at that time.
Yeah.
Being that I still wanted to be involved with dogs or not dogs in general but animals, I said I wonder is there a school that I can go to teach me to be a dog trainer. I just
Oh,
got the I said I got a little under my belt. I said why not just see if there's something out there to teach me to be a dog trainer
right.
and get on Google. I get on Google that summer. Long and behold, there was this little school in Hutto, Texas, I believe called Star Mart, and
Okay.
they had like a little 3 month course to basically teach you, from basic obedience to a little advanced obedience. And I said, I'm sold. I went there for 3 months, graduated, and then I was, now you can say, I'm a dog trainer. I got some certificates, I guess. Still, I still haven't at this point, when I graduate, I still haven't uh, decided that I'm gonna do this for a career path.
Mm.
I said I don't want to just do pet stuff. I felt like the pet stuff was boring. At the time, I feel like I don't want to. I want to learn how to do some bite stuff,
Right.
some bite work. Cause I at that point I said, you know what? If I'm gonna be a dog trainer, I want to be a person protection trainer. I want to train dogs to sell, to high end clients uh, for protection.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if there's a school to teach me how to do basic obedience, I said, let me get on Google and see if there's a school to teach me how to be a person protection trainer or teach me bike stuff. Lo and behold, in my state actually, where I was, not too far from me, a city called Lafayette or outside of Lafayette in Abbeville, it was a school that taught you how to be a police dog trainer and person protection trainer. And lo and behold, of course, I had to go. Uh,
Okay.
Long story short, I, learned how to do bite work and scent detection uh, and be able to handle these so-called working dogs, military and police dogs. So we was getting these dogs from overseas. And they were, man, some of these dogs ain't gonna lie to you. First coming there and seeing that is scary, but I was committed on wanting to do it. And then
Yeah,
my
I
man,
believe it.
yeah, my man, ain't raised no, raised no bitch. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had to stick with it. Uh,
Oh.
but uh, I was gonna say I graduate. I end up doing. They offered more than one course. I end up doing two courses that they offered to be a police handler, not a police handler, but a working dog handler and working dog trainer, police trainer. Uh, and they end up hiring me.
Okay.
Uh, so from there, I worked there, about a good 2 years training police dogs, pet dogs, and that place there is what I'm going to say that got me a lot of knowledge in dog training.
Mm.
Just because I was able to put my hand on so many dogs and see so many different behaviors of dogs. This dog's coming in with, he's biting people, or this dog's coming in and biting other dogs and animals. It wasn't, and it's not that I was seeing this once or twice every 4 months. I was seeing this every week. And it,
Yeah.
as put your hands on these dogs, you start to remember, oh, I remember this dog acted like that. So why can't I, I know what to do with this dog. I ain't gonna lie,
Mm.
that place helped me because like I said, I was able to put my hands on so many dogs.
Right.
But that had to come to an end because I felt like I had the knowledge I needed, and the place that
You
I was at,
had to let your wings spread.
yeah, and the places I was at, you know, they they didn't want to pay me well enough,
Mm.
excuse me, to stay to where I felt like I could go do something on my own, make just as much money. So
Right.
if I feel like if you can pay me this price, I feel like I could do this price on my own. So why work, for you when I can be working for myself, making my own,
Right.
schedule and, making what you about to pay me. So
Yeah.
it just wasn't, meant to be. It wasn't no hard feelings about it. But that's when I kind of just uh set in on, I'm gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna start my own business.
Okay, let me ask
And
you a question about that.
what you
I
got?
hear a lot of people say it's hard to open up a protection training business or a training business by yourself. Say it's hard to do that and make a good profit off of it or a good living off of it. So how hard was that for you? I mean, what was that journey like? Just give us a little tidbit of it, maybe.
Well, to be honest, when I first started off, training on my own, I didn't really get into person protection training. When I first jumped in, I knew how to,
Yeah.
but I wasn't necessarily advertising myself to do that just yet.
Okay.
I'd have little, private lessons, here and there. People just basically people just wanting to see if their dog would bite, and that was about it. But I was mainly just doing pet dogs, which is that's don't get me wrong, pet dogs. That's where the money's at.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Mm.
yeah, that's your question. Yeah, you were saying, how did I with the go say ask your question again
Okay, so what was it? I mean, what was your process while stepping out on your own and
with
starting that
personal
business?
protection.
Yeah, yeah, and training. I mean, you like you said, you stepped away from where you were because they were paying you and you didn't like to pay. So you
Uh-huh.
said, why not start doing this by myself and I can make the same amount? I mean, what was your
Right.
thought process like doing that? Like, man, am I
I was
going?
talking about just starting it off. Yeah, I was just like when I came home, I was just like I was committed, and I'm finna, I'm finna get rich or die trying. Basically, I had that type
Yeah,
of mentality. It
I feel
was,
I feel you on that. I'm right. I'm at that right now.
and I, you got to take risk in life. To
For sure.
you ain't gonna never know. What could have happened if you never did. You
Right.
got to take risk. So what I did was I I had this friend that had a pet grooming shop. And I forgot to mention, as I was growing up during the summer, sometimes I would work at a pet grooming shop. So I was kind of just always around dogs. But
Okay.
anyway, like I said, I knew this lady who uh, had this pet grooming place, and she basically gave me a jump start. And I was grateful for having her, for that. She kind of did help kickstart my business off. Um, she kind of gave me my first few clients, and then from there I just started advertising, uh,
Yeah.
and people just kind of just seeing, oh, what he's doing with these dogs, and then they didn't just see, oh, he's just some random guy. I was kind of, at the time I was showing, hey, I'm certified, which there's no regulation, on dog trainers. It ain't like, you can go to the federal government and say, oh, he's not certified by woo 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 and he's training dogs. But this certificate does mean something. I spent the time and did the work.
Right.
So I would say, hey, I'm giving certified dog trainer. It's not anything in the backyard or what or whatnot. No backyard training. And word just started to spread as I would advertise, and I just kind of started to take off. Making connections. That's the main thing. Is I feel like word of mouth and actually being places got me you know, the to where I'm at right now. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Connections definitely can do something for you. I mean, I'll say one message. You send one message that can go a long way for you. I mean, but like some people feel like, oh, he's not gonna say nothing. Just send that message or make that video or something. You never know who's gonna see it, who's gonna reach out to you, or who's gonna text you back because it can do a lot for you. I've met some good people in this already, and I'm just getting started. I haven't been in it 6 months yet, so I mean,
correct.
I always tell
That's
people,
what and that's what I said. I said, this guy. I said, who knows? This guy. I could be the one to help him. Blow up. Who
right?
knows what this. I was just saying this. In my head, I was like, of course I'm gonna, do this interview with this guy.
Yeah,
Of course I'm
yeah, I
gonna,
appreciate
especially, we brothers. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
definitely try to you know help our people as much as I can.
for sure. Yeah, I'm on the same time, man. If I could put on for our people, because there's not a lot of opportunities that may come, or they might not take the chance on those opportunities if they have them. So if I can help in any way in our community, and I mean brothers, of course, but even others. I mean, I don't discriminate in none of that in any type of way. If I can help, I can help.
Thanks. Your background covering your face.
Is it what you? Oh, let me see.
I didn't know if
Can
it's
you see?
meant to be like that or not. No, I can't see.
Oh man. Oh,
It's
oh.
it's fine. If it's not. I
Let me
just
see. I'm about to check on YouTube just to make sure.
I just thought to ask.
I think we good because it's showing up good on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, let me get this question. Let me get this question in here. Oh. So when and how did you and Sean meet? You
Sean.
know, I know it might be a lot because he a crazy dude, but let's keep it small. You know, not we don't got to give everything.
Yeah. Uh, to be honest, I don't want to lie and say this is how we met, but I feel like uh he his dad contacted me uh and was trying to get his dog to do some bite work.
Okay.
Uh, he had this little bulldog, like a Johnson bulldog, not that little English, little short bulldog, but one of those American bulldogs. And
Yeah.
and I think, you know, after that, he introduced me to his son, and then we kind of just started linking. At first, Sean started as a client, and then
Yeah.
client turned to friends, basically.
Okay. Okay. That's what's up.
But that dude
Man,
is,
Sean,
yeah,
Sean background just real family oriented. Like him and Joseph, they met through family. I mean, and you and him met through family. It's crazy how God
facts,
works.
facts, for real, bro.
Yeah, that's what's
And
up.
I ain't gonna lie, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sean, real dude, real genuine
So,
dude, man.
so
Yeah.
so what training philosophy do you follow as far as maybe pray drive, defense drive? I don't. And it might be some others. Let me know if there's some others I might have missed. And what part do they play in a dog? And how do you use it to your advantage?
So say the first part again one more time.
What training philosophy do you use as far
As
as prey
far as
drive,
like
defense
training
drive, like
philosophy, as far as like how
protection?
protection.
Yeah, yep,
I mean, you're gonna use all those aspects. In training person protection. Uh, you gonna kick in, some prey drive in a dog. You gonna want to kick in some defense. Uh, you're gonna want to use all that. If that's what you're asking.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I would, yeah, that was my question. I mean, which one do you prefer to use? I mean, maybe which one
I
fits the
like
dogs you
I
usually see in
don't
front of you the best?
I don't um, I don't like a dog. I'd rather a dog that has an equal amount of prey drive and equal amount of defense drive.
Yeah,
And what I mean, it don't have to be equal, but I don't want a dog to have high defense drive because now this dog doesn't take much for this dog to turn on and want to bite somebody. If that makes
right.
sense.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
that makes sense. You
easy.
don't want a lot of everything, or
Yeah,
one.
he's
You don't want a lot of
easy.
one thing. I mean,
Right, because that can kind of be a liability. If this dog is easily triggered, to want to bite.
yeah,
The neighbors walking by, oh, that's not something, I don't like. I mean, that's not something I would like.
right.
And then I wouldn't mind high prey drop, uh, but to a dog that's very high in prey drive, your training, the way you're training is gonna have to matter if you're trying to do personal protection with that dog.
Right.
Because being personal protection, the dog has to have some type of defense drive. The dog has to have, the willing to wanna, and it's in the name,
Yeah.
and it's in the name of defense. The dog's gonna want to defend, if that makes
Right.
sense. So when you have just so much prey drive and no little defense drive, prey is basically, some object that's moving and, running, or, but defense, is not so much running. It's more offensive. It's more threatening when,
Yeah.
when you speak
Fending off,
on
fending off
defense,
something. Yeah.
when you put it, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, if the dog don't think you're a threat because he doesn't have any defense in him, then he's not really gonna bite. If he
Right.
don't, if he got a low threshold of defense, meaning you could hit on him and or whatnot, try to bring him in defense. He's just like, oh, okay, he's not a threat. Then that's not gonna be a good person protection dog.
Yeah.
Because if he's not realizing that this person is a threat and he's hitting you and pulling on you, the dog I'm talking about, and you don't even
Yeah.
want to defend yourself, then that's not. I wouldn't say that's a good candidate.
Right. Okay. Okay. Go
Uh,
kind of get into the like the prey drive, defense drive, and if there is some other ones like civil drive. I hear a lot of people say that because my audience is a little younger and they may not know what those are. I do, but they may not get the concept of them.
I wouldn't say that civil is necessarily a drive. I mean, yeah, I don't really consider it a drive, but I do consider it being a uh, not a personality, but it's to be civil is meaning the dog is not asphyxiated on equipment. So like
Yeah.
training equipment, bite sleeves and such. Not the dog's not trying to go for the equipment. He's trying to go for the actual person.
Right.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. That does. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what civil is. It's just either a dog's just gonna be civil or he's not gonna be civil. When that could all just come from training.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can come from being a lot of high defensive dogs are more civil. Meaning you can put the bite sleeve on, and the moment you take the bite sleeve off your arm, they're spinning out and trying to come get you.
Right.
Just because that defense drive in them is so high, they're not really trying to possess a sleeve. To whereas a dog that's very high in prey, all they're really trying to do is just possess that bite sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, but
And then
yeah, man.
get into prey drive and defense drive. What they are.
We kind of tapped on it a little bit. I mean, prey drive is just a dog that's uh wanting to chase something. Anything that's kind of moving. Whether that's
Yeah.
animals, little kids, a ball, a toy. The dog is just wanna go chase this item or
Something he feel
whatever.
he can like take or he can take down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He just wants to. His body's just telling him, hey, I gotta go chase this thing.
Right.
It's moving. I gotta go try to get it
Yeah.
just because it's moving, basically. And to
Okay.
whereas defense is, it's more as like in the name it's in the name itself. It's basically just you know a dog that's trying to defend something. Yeah, he's just trying to defend something. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Uh,
Keep something off of property or keep someone away from the handler or owner maybe.
even just itself,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
right.
like the flight, uh, fight, flight, that type of, what do you call that
Fight or
that
flight.
terminology? Yeah, what do you call that though? What is that?
Survival. I mean, it's in the survival aspect, but I
Survival
mean,
instincts or whatever it is. Yeah, you know
yeah,
what I mean. Though. But what is it?
survivalistic instincts. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, freeze, fight, or flight. You know, basically that defense is fighting. If I
yeah.
get backed up in this corner, am I going to try to defend myself?
Right.
And you kind of just condition a dog that has his defense to want to defend you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you're
So,
saying. Yeah,
so naturally, the dog is really just trying to defend itself. But through training, we kind of manipulate and condition a dog to not just defend itself, but defend the handler.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. Okay, okay. So was Yeti your first protection dog?
Yeti, uh, I've never really had just a protection dog. He was a dog that I did like bite sports with, but I've never
Okay,
really just had a personal protection dog. He
right.
was my first dog that I did do bite sports and stuff with.
Okay. Okay. What breed of dog was Yeti?
Yeti was a Belgian Malinois.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So he was trained pretty well from what I hear.
Yeah, Yeti was my what a dog trainer would call demo dog. He knew a little bit of everything. Uh,
Yeah.
from I used to herd other dogs and cattle with them also. He was just a, a miscellaneous type of dog.
Okay. Okay. That's what's up. That's fire.
Yeah.
Uh. So what's the? So I didn't know you got into like the bike sports. What's the difference between protection training and bike sports?
Uh, the main difference is you said the main difference in bite sports and
Yeah.
protection
What
sports or
different? What
protection
differentiates them?
protection training and sport training.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, part of the if you had a one of those little circles that overlaps and you have the differences of one thing over here and the other differences of other thing over here, and in the middle you got the similarities. I'm talking about that type of diagram I'm talking about.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you have the
You should,
similarities.
and
Yeah.
right in the middle, and then you have the differences on one side, and yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in the middle, so to say, because they both kind of share a lot of similarities in training, except silver work, so to speak. Person protection training, you're gonna do a lot more civil stuff, meaning no equipment, from like muzzle work to maybe even hidden sleeves to civil agitation, uh, just just the whole. I'm using civil as a general terminology. That's basically, I'd say, the big difference in
Yeah.
sport training and uh, personal protection training is just being doing a lot more civil stuff.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of people think in the personal protection world that you shouldn't be using bite suits and things of that nature. When training dogs, but like I told you, where I came from, I'm training police dogs. That's what we did. We taught these dogs to bite people in bite suits. And of course, we did civil training also. But like I said, there's going to be similarities in that circle. But these dogs were on the street. These were real police dogs. They weren't
Right.
personal protection dogs. These dogs were getting bites every month, type of thing. In real
Yeah.
life, actually being tested.
Right.
So, and we're using bite suits. So, but that was just my little just, I don't know what to call it. Just, I don't know. But yeah, what's your next question, man? I just,
Okay. 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 Uh. So with that, I kind of see that. Some people talk about it, the fixation on equipment. Where do you think
yeah.
people go wrong when it comes to fixation on equipment, and how do you think people could get away from that?
I say you need to contact Tiger K9.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like if I can't give out too much knowledge, and then they want to go home and try this, I
Even
can
give a
help you
little
out.
piece if you can. I feel
I
you though.
can,
I feel you. You can't give up too much of the sauce.
yeah, exactly. I can. This ain't gonna work for every dog, but you could, if you got a dog that's you know asphyxiated on equipment, you can do what they call the shedding drill. Where it's basically you just slipping the bite sleeve off and becoming civil, like no equipment, and which is that's a pretty known training method. Uh, and like I said, you basically have the bite sleeve on your arm, and the dog bites, and somebody's holding the dog. You slip the sleeve, and then you go back into the agitation. There's no sleeve, there's no type of equipment on me. But I'm making a dog, bark and try to come at me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. A shedding drill.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I feel you on the not want to give up all of it though. Because you do
Yeah,
got to get paid for your word and your time. I feel you, bro.
exactly. My little training methodology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust
So,
me, I know
what
some.
exactly what you were gonna say? Go ahead. My bad.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I know some other ways, that I
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically
No
like to
doubt.
use. But go ahead.
So, what exactly made you get into the Belgian Malinois?
Uh, when I was at my first school in Texas, uh, the one where I was just learning basic obedience at, he kind of pers- I ain't gonna say he kind of influenced me to get that type of dog breed just because of the things that he was doing with his dog. Uh, he was just doing, his dog was down and quick. His dog was doing bite stuff. His dog was screaming, trying to get a toy. Don't get me wrong, I had a little pit bull at the time. He was a nice when I brought there. But anyway, he just kind of he just I was just amazed. I'd never seen that breed before at that school. And then he kind of influenced me on going and learning to do bite work and stuff. So that's how I
Mm,
ended up at that other school because of my mentor. Shout out to Will. Will,
okay.
I don't know if I say his last name right, but William Garado. Dog trainer is my passion. That's his Instagram.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm about to check him out.
Yeah, that's my. He got me. I ain't gonna say he got me started, but I love him for his mentoring
He influenced you a little bit. Like
a lot.
yeah. Okay. Okay. For sure. For sure. Okay. So I hear a lot of people say they aren't dogs for everyone, or they shouldn't be pets. What do you think about that? The Belgian Malinois
Yeah,
to specify.
as a breed standard, if you talk about how if you're looking in the book and this dog in the book is who you're looking at in person, no, this dog shouldn't be just living with uh, a regular family because genetically this dog is wired, to be a herder,
Yeah.
and to be a herder you have to have prey drive, and this prey drive makes you antsy and very fidgety or
Yeah, you
I
got
ain't
to
gonna
be
say
you.
it makes you that, but this breed carries that type of genetic trait in them to where they're just so fidgety and quick and kind of just never really settling down, always
Yeah.
wanting to kind of do something.
Okay. I think you kind of
So
answered my question I had that was going to be a part of this. I was going to ask you,
was that?
why do you think the shepherds, the herders, like the Miles, Dutch shepherds, German shepherds, and even some of the Molosser type dogs, as far as the giant schnauzers, Rottweilers, why do you think they're so? Why do you think them as herders, because they have herding background? Why do you think they're so good at like police work, protection work, etc.? But you kind of answered
Uh,
that.
yeah, I was about to say just because of their genetic makeup of having a fair amount of prey drive and a fair amount of defense drive in them, and over time they just people started to just breed those dogs with those type of genetic traits, and it just kind of just stuck with them. So it and you could say they could have used pit bulls, which pit bulls were used back in the day as working dogs and stuff. But pit bulls just kind of started to get a bad rep on the
Bad rap.
name. Yeah, and I feel like they couldn't really be a public image for like a police dog.
Yeah.
At
Which was crazy because they
when
were America's dog at one point.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Exactly that.
yeah. I
But
mean, they were all over. I ain't gonna say the word DFing was. I mean, that was like an actual sport. I mean, they had veterinarians on the side and everything cleaning up dogs. I mean, people was like really doing. They was deep into this
right.
until it was
Especially
made
yeah,
illegal. Yeah, yeah,
it was a thing. That's what they were bred for. Other and sometimes to be in a pit with a bull. You know that's really where they got the name from. Pit bull is because they put these dogs in the pit with a bull.
yeah, yeah.
They grab them on the nose and try to tame them and stuff. But yeah,
What do you think about the bull herders? How many have you touched, or how many have you worked with?
I've never worked with one personally.
Okay.
I've seen a couple in person. Uh, I tried to buy one uh, about a couple years ago. Uh, that didn't go through though, but
Mm,
they're cool little breed.
yeah.
I wouldn't mind, having one, but it's just not something I'm just into right now.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you this: why do you think I mean the Mouse, like why do you they really like burst onto the scene? I mean, you see almost every trainer with one on their camp. Why do you think they became such? I want to say a fad, really. I mean, even some of the less
Definitely
experienced
because
ones
of
have one.
social media, especially when the John Wick movie and I think another movie, Colombiana or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of movies been using them. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
think it just kind of became that so and so called fad because they felt like if they got this dog, their dog can do the same thing that the dog was doing in the movies, and that's just not
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
The same with bull breeds, how everybody and their mama want to breed bullets and stuff.
yeah.
Just because people start selling them for this price or whatnot. It's just
And
social
even
media.
saying they were selling them for that, and they most likely wasn't selling them for 55,000, 100,000, or whatever.
Correct. It's
But these
just social
movies,
media.
yeah, yeah. But these movies I noticed have like some influence, like The Sandlot. I read an article on it. That dog used was an AKC champion, and it
Really
just yeah. And the people, I think a lot of people really wanted that bigger dog and just loved what he was doing in that movie. And I think that kind of
influence people to
maybe
want
made
to
the
start
quality of
getting.
them decline.
Yeah, I can see that. I
Yeah,
can definitely see that.
for sure.
Yeah, man.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Um, oh, I had a question. I just lost it. So you said you worked with military dogs before, right?
Uh-huh.
Military and police. So talk about the difference in maybe just a dog going to a pet home or a dog that is a pet that's getting going through protection training. What is the difference between police training and pet training?
Uh, I forget. Like I said, I forget what that diagram is, but in this diagram, instead of there being previously like there was a lot of stuff in the middle. There ain't gonna be a lot of stuff in the middle in this comparison. There's gonna be some, but from obedience, it's depending on pet dog and person. No, not you said you didn't say person section. You said police training. Part of their obedience training. I don't know if you hear that train. There's a train coming by.
Yeah, I can hear that train. It's all good.
I'll wait till it get a little lower. Yeah, your code says it get a little lower. Give me a chance to come up with my answer.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's all good.
The obedience, from the most part, to like basic is definitely gonna be, you know, the same, or it could be the same. Depending on the level of training for the police dog that you're doing, it all could be the same. For a pet. Uh, but of course, you can get more into tactical training and advanced work and police work. Having dogs between your legs and telling dogs to go out into a building to lay down from a distance. Of course, all that stuff is going to be different from training pet dogs. And then
Yeah.
of course, the bite work. Of course, we're not teaching bite work to the pet dogs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I see you do decoy and training. So I mean, are you learning both at the same time, or I mean, did you kind of dipped into you being a trainer before anything? But I mean, when did you pick up decoying?
Yeah, you're right. When I was at school, uh, remember, like first I said I went to school to be, just learn some obedience, and then I saw my mentor's dog, and he was doing that stuff, and I went to the other school. That's where I learned, to do police work and be a decoy. That makes sense. Learning how to read dogs and take a dog, from this level to that. It's from that school, and then over time, being a dog trainer, there's not a certain level that you get to where you know everything. So even when I left there, I still learned from other people and and other dogs that I was training, how to be a better decoy or how to do this right or so to speak, experiment.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So definitely got my basics from that school.
Right. Right. So I think as I get more trainers, you're the first trainer I think on here.
Mm.
As I get more, I mean, what is the breed you see the most when it comes to just like a regular pet owner bringing in a dog and then maybe want them to do some training? What is the most what's the word, most common breed you see?
Me personally, I get a lot of shepherds, where the German shepherds to Miles. Me personally,
Okay.
for
What's the
pet
difference
training,
between the two? Like as
a
far as
German.
training, German Shepherd and Mal. What's the difference as far as training, consistency in training or focus? What are some differences and which one do you prefer
To have or to train.
to train? Yeah.
Uh, I mean, there's not too much difference in training. Both breeds. Typically, a German Shepherd by breed is a lot slower learner. Uh, they're typically a breed that thinks thinks more than a Malinois, if that makes sense.
Kind of
Uh,
get you a little.
a,
I can get where you're coming from. Yeah.
a Mal is as a breed they're more to go head on, first than to think about a situation.
Yeah.
Uh, so in especially in training, I get a lot of Mals, especially when they learn the game, they do a lot of anticipating as a breed whole. I ain't saying German Shepherds won't do a lot of anticipating, but what I've seen as a breed whole from what I mean by anticipating is once the dog knows a couple different behaviors, as they're thinking of you're teaching a new behavior, they're going to start to offer all these other behaviors or try to guess what you finna do. Like if I'm teaching
Mm,
my dog to sit, he's going to try to beat me. Once he knows it enough, he's going to try to beat me to the sit. He's going to try to anticipate a lot of stuff. All dogs do anticipate, but I feel like as a breed, breed wise speaking, uh, the male is going to do a lot of anticipating. They're going to try to beat you to the game quick too.
okay. Can that kind of disrupt
Yeah,
training if the dog doesn't understand what you want at first?
I'm not gonna say it disrupts training. Uh, Me as a person, it can frustrate me because I don't want you to. If I'm working on a sit, I don't want you to sit before I can tell you to sit. Let me
Yeah.
tell you to do it first. That's pretty much the only thing it can be. Is just a little frustrating, not too frustrating, but it's just annoying that the dog wants to beat me before I even say it. It's good though.
Right.
Anticipation is good because that means they're learning. That means they're understanding what you want.
Right.
If we're working fits and that's all you're trying to do is offer it before I tell you, that means you're understanding how to get this reward from me, basically.
Yeah.
So you can,
Okay.
and to a sense, you could say that they're smart,
Right.
smarter than
So,
other
so
breeds.
where do you want to see yourself as a trainer in, let's say, 10 years?
Uh, as I don't really, I feel like in 10 years, I want to say I'm not retired, but I want to be, not physically
Oh,
working.
yeah. Okay.
I feel like I'd like to have a nice establishment to where I'm able to hire trainers to do the job for me, and me only having to step in for certain things.
Right.
That's where I feel like I see myself in 10 years.
Okay.
Is I hope.
Cool. Cool. Well, I think that's all the questions I got for you today, bro.
All
So,
good, man.
man, I appreciate you for sure. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Anything you want to say? Anybody you want to shout out? Where can the people find you at?
You can find me on most platforms under Tiger K9, and that's Tyger K9. Located in Louisiana, Shreveport. Uh, that's all I really got. I do want to shout out to my guy Jameer Mott, Black Leash K9. Shout out to that guy.
Okay,
Me and
yeah.
him, we
Shout out
got
to you.
yeah, we got little things cooking. We got a little couple things cooking.
Cool.
Uh,
Cool.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Y'all be out on the lookout for him for sure. Like I said, I enjoyed you, man. You have a blessed day and good luck on your journey, man.
you too, man. Take it easy.
Yes, sir. All right, that was another episode of Catch Dog Concepts. Got y'all a double header. Uh, Shoot, I'll get at y'all next week. I ain't gonna say too much, but hopefully we got some good things coming. Salute.